appreciate it. Let's see. The way I like these things are basically Q&As because you guys always ask a lot more insightful questions than I would think up on my own. So we'll do it that way if that works for everyone. But I did want to say one thing before I started, or before we got started, is that, do any of you watch or play video games? Woo! Do any of you know Command and Conquer 3? Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm trying to get the word out because when I did the show, when I filmed Command and Conquer 3, part of the deal was that they would give me my costume, the original one that I wore. Well, there is only one. It's a thick leather costume, and I'm selling it on my website, on my shop section. All profits go to animal charities. And so I've been holding off on this one until after the Fan Expo so that I could get the word out a little bit more than just people that happen to go on my website. So it's going to be coming up in September. So if any of you know anyone out there that is a size 6 and 5'10" and wants to wear the costume, or just wants to have it, I'm trying to get, a lot of kittens and puppies and some money for them to save for stage. I have a costume from a film I did called Walk All Over Me. That's actually at the Toronto Film Festival this year. And I have an outfit from that I'm going to be selling too, but that won't be until the film is released later on. So anyway, why don't we get started? And I'll see if I can sit on here without actually flipping over. If I do, I'll laugh with you. Woohoo! Okay, who's first? Yes.
As the character 6 in Battlestar Galactica, you play different versions of the same, model of Cylon. Do you find it difficult to be in kind of mindsets? One knows a lot that's going on, one doesn't. Do you have to find that hard to portray?
I think in the beginning, I was a lot more concerned about it in the beginning. I think the first one really was sort of Shelley Godfrey in the first season, and I had a lot of discussions with Ron Moore about it, like, can I make her different, how different, that sort of thing. So there was a lot more, I think, kind of pressure on that first one. And then they started giving me, Gina and some other characters, and it's just really fun for me, because the worry that I had about just playing number 6 was that it would get monotonous, it would get old. But so with the other characters, it allowed me to sort of not only work with the other actors too, but be in the room. Because it's very hard to do the scenes where you're just the one in his head. Because you're not really part of the scene. You're stepping over a camera, and some of you may have heard me say this before, but to help with editing, you quite often, sometimes they'll edit you in and out, but a lot of the time you're actually just hiding. So there's many times that I'm literally behind the scenes going on, and I'm like this. And I wait for a line, and then I'm like, so guys. It's really hard because it's a split second that you're trying to cheat the camera, and you may miss, because you weren't actually seeing, you may miss something in one of the other actors' eyes that maybe would have made you say something a little bit differently. So it was a real thrill for me to be able to play the other characters and be present in the scene.
Yes? Did you have to prepare yourself emotionally for the character of Gina in the torture scenes and things?
Yes, I did. I definitely had to prepare myself. Playing a character that's gone through that much, I wanted to be true to almost what it would be like for a human to some extent. We knew that by that point in the series, we knew that the Cylons could suffer physical, pain. I like the idea of them also being able to suffer a psychological illness and what it would do to them. So I watched the movies about torture, and I did some reading. I did a lot of reading on post-traumatic stress syndrome and what happens with not only rape victims but war victims and that sort of thing. And then when we were filming, that's when you have a cast and crew that works together like we do. I hear it's rare, but there's a few out there that they say that, you know, that the team just really works together and supports everyone. That, in that sort of situation, they really did. Because, you know, normally on set between scenes, you're joking around, and the crew's laughing, and I'm punching the camera guy, and, you know, it's like that kind of thing. But in that scene, it's like when I was chained up, between scenes, unless it was going to be a really long changeover, they had to put a wall in or something, I stayed there. I stayed chained up, and I stayed on the floor. And it helped me stay there, and then that's when the crew and the cast, in this situation, it was only James in there as the cast, but the rest of the crew, they're very supportive, and they're quiet, and they move around you quietly, and they check if you want anything, but they don't bother you. They're not trying to tell you a joke, because it helps you stay in it. And I actually, from staying there so long, I had imprints, because the floor in the brig has little, it's like hard rubber, but it has little divots or whatever, not divots, but little bumps. And then the next day I woke up and I had bump bruises all over, like my hips and all the parts that were on the ground. But yeah, and, you know, at one point, they cut it off, you didn't really see it, but at one point I just broke down. And I just, it was one of the scenes where when I reach for the apple and I pull it, something just kind of, I just started heaving sobs at the end of the scene. And I remember when they cut, you know, you can't just let that go. Something came up from somewhere, I don't know. And, you know, I remember James came up to me and he just held me for a couple of minutes after the scene. And everybody, the crew just kind of leaves, just kind of, you know, gives you some space. And so yeah, I think it was a real, I say enjoyable scene to film in a bizarre, weird way, but it was.